So let's start with a more serious question. You know, Brexit is coming, and can you explain to me what a hard Brexit means for Ireland?
First of all, is it coming though?
It is coming, I think so, yeah.
When not even the political experts seem to know what's going on, I don't pretend to have the answers. So really, I don't know, like the political experts, what the hell's going to happen.
So you are not afraid of work like for the BBC or ITV maybe?
I'm the kind of person who's like, until I have to cross that bridge, I won't worry about it. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the situation in Northern Ireland with the border, but that's a very heavy topic to get into right now. But yeah, that's probably the thing that worries me a little bit.
Your latest film is The Nightingale. It hasn't been released here in Germany, so what can you tell me about the film and your role?
It's written and directed by... Am I supposed to be looking here? Sorry.
Yeah, into the camera,
okay.
please.
It's written by Jennifer Kent, directed by Jennifer Kent, and it's set in 1825 in Tasmania. I play Claire, who is a convict who, after horrors are committed against her family, goes on a quest for revenge.
Have you seen her film Babadook before you were cast?
Yes, of course. I had seen it, but actually when I was reading the script, I didn't instantly make the connection that it was going to be Jennifer directing. And that was, I wanted to do the project just from reading the script because I had such a visceral and emotional response to the writing. And when I heard that it was Jennifer then directing, that added a whole other layer of me wanting to do it and doing anything I had to get it.
So you were cast, or did your agent try to get the part for you?
No, that would never work with Jennifer. She is so uncompromising on what she believes is right for her work and her story. So I did a self-tape, because obviously she was based in Sydney at the time, and I put myself on tape, put a song on tape, and then I was asked to Skype with her, so we Skyped. Then I flew myself out to LA for a 2.5-hour callback, and then I found out I got the part a couple of weeks later. But I auditioned for the film 3 years ago now.
It's a long time, so maybe you forgot about the part?
The part?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I have waited so long to talk about this project because it's so close to my heart that it's very clear in my mind. It's the most satisfying and rewarding, but also challenging job I've ever done.
What was so challenging about the part, the location, Tasmania, or the time, 1900s?
It was a combination of the two. We were filming in the wilds of Tasmania. We were on location 52 out of 54 days, often quite inhospitable locations. But on top of that, it was very emotionally draining. The material is quite heavy. It's quite a confronting film, and there's some brutality in it. Jen doesn't attempt to sugarcoat the history of the atrocities committed against the Aboriginal people of Tasmania or the treatment of the convicts there at the time, particularly female convicts. So having to meet, during my time of research, I met with social workers, I met with victims of sexual violence. I educated myself on the Aboriginal history, and that just gave everything a weight of responsibility. I wanted to tell the story right, I wanted to be truthful, and I wanted to honour the women and the stories that they were good enough to share with me to help me portray Claire.
You are a classically trained singer and you could sing in The Nightingale. Do you miss singing in the opera?
So this is one of those things that's on the internet.
Yeah.
Yes, strictly speaking, I
On
was.
the Wikipedia page
Yes,
too.
I know. My Wikipedia is, well, I don't know who writes that thing. But anyway, I sang in the chorus of a couple of operas when I was younger, and I'm classically trained, but I would in no way pretend to be an opera singer. Those people train for years to be able to sing the way that they do and have this incredible instrument that I definitely don't have. But singing is important to me. I enjoy it a lot, and I hope to be able to use it more going forward in the projects that I do.
In retrospect, how do you see your role as Katie Benedetto in The Fall?
I think it's a really interesting character. It's funny, people tend to hate her, which I find quite fascinating, because really she's still a child in many ways, but because she's just on the cusp of womanhood, people tend to veer towards treating her more like an adult, when really she's quite a vulnerable and slightly damaged child in many ways. But honestly, when people have a reaction of hating her, I just kind of feel like I've done my job right, because she definitely makes some choices that make you want to knock some sense into her.
This was your first TV role. How do you prepare for the part, and how did you get it?
I just went for an audition. I had only just signed with my agency about a month beforehand. I went up to Belfast to do the audition, and I got the part. In terms of research, I didn't, I had been a teenager myself, not one that was in love with a serial killer, that's true, but we all have gone through those awkward teenage years, and you just have to emphasize and highlight some of those normal feelings that a teenager would go through, but then to a totally different extent, as with Katie, because her vision of the world around her becomes completely distorted. But I didn't do very specific types of research for it.
Were you satisfied with the development of your character? Because I've waited that Katie become a serial killer at the end.
A lot of people have said that to me. I honestly think that Alan made the right choice in not going down that path. First of all, I quite like that there's hope in her story. He obviously Spectre is not quite. He's an awful character, and I like that she wasn't completely consumed by that. There's still some hope for Katie at the end of it. And also, I don't know how believable a 16-year-old serial killer would be. There probably are some, but I don't know if I would have been able to do a very good job with that.
Was being able to sing a part of your being casted?
I think so. I sang. It's actually interesting. Every single job I've done where I've had to sing, I don't sing the way that I sing. It's been very specific to the character. I sang a song, and Alan said, I really want her to sound like a 16-year-old just singing in her bedroom who maybe doesn't have plans of being a singer. And in the case of the Nightingale, I'm not a traditional Irish singer, but it was appropriate for Claire to find a very different kind of singing voice to the one that I would naturally have as myself.
The BBC put out a clip of you singing as Katie Benedetto, where there are talks about doing a soundtrack, and maybe you will sing full versions of the songs.
Oh, really? Was there?
It sounded really great.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. I hadn't heard of those plans. If anyone asks you to sing a soundtrack, I'll totally do it. But I'd need Alan. Alan is actually, I'm not playing guitar in that scene. Alan is just the writer, like the creator of the show, is sitting in the corner off screen playing the guitar for me.
The Berlinale director today signs gender equality pledge. What are your thoughts on that? Are you paid really good and equally to men?
I think we're working towards reaching parity in terms of equal pay. I tend not to ask if I'm getting paid the same as my male co-stars, not because I don't think it's important. It hasn't. I think because I feel like I'm very much at the beginning of my career. There are a lot of different things that come into play. If someone's far more well known than you, then obviously that brings something to the table that you can't. So it's quite complicated. But moving towards parity and the signing of the pledge is wonderful. I think we're going to have to come at this from a lot of different angles, because I don't think you can just deal with such a huge problem with one solution. And before I get myself into a political hot mess, I'll stop there. But I think it needs to be actually for women to really be treated the same, or equally, I suppose, to men. I think it needs to be a societal change more than anything. We need to stop viewing women in positions of power, or at the helm in the film, or at the helm of a film as a riskier choice. Women have proven time and again in plenty of different genres that they can have critical and commercial success. So I don't really know why putting a woman in those positions of leadership and power is a risk, because it's not, clearly.
Last year, the Me Too movement was a big thing on social media. What are your experiences?
I'm always wary of this question, just because I don't like reducing this very important topic to what sounds like a soundbite. Honestly, I think the Miche Movement created a lot of conversation, which is only ever a good thing, of course, for progress. I think, though, we're going to have to allow for quite a messy and complicated, real discussion where there's a two-way conversation where people can learn from each other, because it's, speaking in declaratives is not. It's helpful because it obviously sparks conversation, but it has to go further than that. So hopefully we can come to a point where we keep actually having a very fluid and probably sometimes messy conversation about all the gender inequalities we have in our society.